Hey guys, this is Logan Freeman with the LiveFree Investors Podcast. I interview investors and business owners who share investment advice so you too can live free. Today I'm talking to Jeff Beals. Jeff, in a few sentences, tell us who you are and what you do.
Okay, Logan, first of all, appreciate you having me on. I am a
Absolutely.
sales consultant and a trainer, and I help companies all over the world attract new clients and close deals faster.
I love it. And I knew you were going to nail that question because one of the modules in your sales program and training program is just that. And you don't like the word elevator pitch or value proposition. I forget what you called it in the module. What do you like to call that?
Well, I just think it's a matter of being honest with the people you're talking to. You just have to say what it is you do quickly, clearly, in a way that catches their interest, and you don't use a lot of $25 words.
Yeah. Well, I try to use $50 words, so hopefully I can catch somebody's attention.
You're a smart guy.
Well, so Jeff, tell me what the best thing about being a business owner is.
There's so many things, and I guess maybe the flippant answer would be cashing checks,
Yep.
but the more practical answer would be the satisfaction you get from helping people under your own name while waving your own flag.
Yep.
I also, in my life, I am in an employment situation too. I'm affiliated with a commercial real estate company.
Yep.
And I've been doing that for 20 years. So I kind of see the best of both worlds. That's part of my life. And then the majority of my income comes from my company, Jeff Beals and Associates. But it's very gratifying to be able to set your own course and to decide who exactly it is that you serve. And it's fun to be able to tinker and experiment with your own business in a way you don't have the right to do when you work for someone else. But
Yeah.
I guess that's what I'd say. Very gratifying, Logan, and,
Yeah.
and, and a heck of a lot of fun.
So I'm curious. So you've been in the commercial real estate world as a broker, and what prompted you to start, a consulting business, a training business to help people like myself? Like, what was the burning desire or the need that you saw out in the marketplace to start your company?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it all goes back to 2004. I was hosting a radio show
Yep.
that we started in order to promote the real estate company, and I actually still host that show to this day. And
Wow,
yeah, 16 some years, 16 and a half
that is
years.
so cool.
Yeah, it's on an AM radio station, 50,000 watt. We have a lot of fun with it. But as a result of that radio show, I would go and speak to local groups to try and generate interest, drive
Sure.
listenership. And literally, one of the groups said, "Hey, we love your message, but next time when you come back, can you do us a different presentation, kind of help us understand how we could better market ourselves?"
Yeah.
And literally, that request, Logan, led to a book I wrote called Self-Marketing Power, Branding Yourself as a Business of One. In 2008, it was published. And because of that, once you become an author, you start speaking to everyone to promote the book.
Sure.
I liked that so much, enjoyed the teaching thing. I decided, hey, I'm gonna turn this into a business, and now that's the majority of what I do.
Yeah, well, it's fantastic content. I have been a consumer of content for a very long time. I'd say probably 8 years now is when I had the turning point in my life to kind of really start to work on myself. And I've been in some programs that were fluff. And I've been in some programs that really you could probably get the same content or better content, via Spotify playlists or a podcast or something like that, or even YouTube, right? But what I really enjoyed about when you sent me a sample of the modules was that there was no fluff. There was a worksheet, there was actionable steps, and it told you exactly what you needed to do. And I'm curious and we're going to go long on this, but only because I'm a big proponent and I love the content that you're putting out. But tell me, like, when you go into companies and you do these consulting programs, one thing I'm having a hard time with our own brokerage and something that I'm running up against, like the roadblock, is people actually following through. Even though we had a LinkedIn, commercial real estate challenge, I mean, how do I get folks to continue to follow through? And I know that there's this word accountability out there. That's one of those $25 words that everybody talks about. You got to have accountability. But like, how do we actually do that? How do you see that in action?
Yeah, it's one of the biggest challenges that people in my world fight with
Yep.
because, so often we're hired for one-offs, right? Someone hires me to come to their city. I get on a plane, do a presentation. Everyone's fired up. We're all having a
Yep.
great time, and then as I'm going home, I'm worrying. I wonder how much of this they're gonna take with them, and
Absolutely.
and and I think there are a couple different approaches to that. One, the biggest burden is on the leader who's back in the office.
Okay.
That person has to have the commitment to take the content that was shared and turn that into a regularly occurring, integrated part of life as everyone in that company knows it.
Sure.
And you made reference earlier to a particular sales training program I designed for the commercial real estate industry called Deal Makers, of which your company is a client. Thank you.
Yes.
And that particular program was designed to do a little bit of that because it's ongoing, designed to be consumed over the course of a year. There's homework and there's exercises and all that sort of thing. But even still, I mean, you can give everyone a whole bunch of exercises and tell them it's due within a week. But unless there's some leader at the company with a level of authority to
Hmm.
say, you will turn this in or you will do this, and if not, I'll be coming to ask you why.
Yes.
It then goes. It then falls by the wayside, except for the most motivated people like yourself, who are very, very dedicated to learning and growing and developing. I
Yeah.
guess the other thing is that people kind of change too sometimes in their careers. You could have a person early on who kind of goes by and does fairly well without the continuing education or the thirst for learning that guys like you have. But then maybe something happens at some point where they realize they're not accelerating as fast as they'd like, or they turn 30 or they turn 40 or 50 and they're not where they are. And so then they make a new commitment to learning. So sometimes those things in your life can also spark someone to be a little more dedicated.
Absolutely. I think you hit it on the head. We have not required our agents to turn in the worksheets, right? I mean, we have this weekly call where I lead and it's an hour. Everybody sends, messages back and says, "Oh, great job, great content," but there isn't necessarily, any accountability to actually turn something in. And that's what I tried to do with this LinkedIn challenge was like, we actually had a challenge with a group of our agents, and we had a prize at the end of it. And I believe in LinkedIn so much because I've seen the results that it has provided my business to say, okay, well, we are going to track how many times you post, how many times you're engaging with people, and the person who has the most trajectory of views of content, of posting, of engaging is going to get this prize. And we saw a pretty good response rate to that. But now here it is a week afterwards, and I know my agents, my fellow agents, are done posting, and
Mhm.
I'm going to have to figure out a way to do that on an ongoing basis. So that's a great challenge for me to continue to work through. Thanks for sharing that. There's a lot of things, I would say, that are moving in the landscape of commercial real estate, of the economy, of health, everything. And so keeping up to date on those current trends and opportunities can be a real challenge. So tell me your thoughts on how you've overcome that challenge. Like, how have you stayed up to date with what's going on?
Yeah, and it's a big challenge, and it's one that has a level of importance that cannot be understated. I do a couple things myself. Number one, I read the Wall Street Journal every day.
Yep.
And I chose that because I can't stand the emotion
Mhm.
that comes with television news.
Right.
And also, I want most of my news to be business oriented. I need a little bit of political stuff. We all have to be up on that, but I want most of my news to be business oriented.
Sure.
So I choose the Wall Street Journal, and then I read my local newspaper to make sure I'm up on everything locally. And then I've got I'm in a mastermind group with 52 other people who do exactly what I do. We're all competitors, actually,
Yeah.
but we're in a mastermind group together, and we all got together and we share each other's information publicly. We give each other advice, even though we're all competitors, because the theory is to make the pie bigger than fighting over little pieces. At
Sure.
any rate, I read the content that the other 52 members of my mastermind group put out pretty religiously. In fact, I usually, if you added it all up, Logan, I probably spend about 5 hours a week doing nothing but reading
Wow.
sales content from my direct competitors.
Yeah.
And so those are my three primary ways. Then, of course, just like anyone else, I sniff around LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter
Sure.
and all that sort of thing. But the Wall Street Journal, my local newspaper, and then 52 competing sales consultant trainers just like me.
Man, I love that, right? I mean, the mastermind component is so important. I've seen it work in my own life and a lot of other business leaders' lives as well. And I love that your competitors are in there. That's really interesting because, I think that the sales consultancy world, just in general, has actually done a pretty good job of collaborating. I watch Jeb Blunt collaborate with Mark Winters, who collaborates with a few other folks. They all write each other's prefaces to the books. You've seen me tag Art. I don't know how to say his last name.
Subject. Yeah.
Subject. And I've been following his stuff for a long time too. We need to get him on the podcast as well. But I'm curious. Like that's a really interesting idea to be in a mastermind with your competitors. And I'd have to check to see if there's other commercial real estate brokerages that have some sort of mastermind like that, because or even better, I might be able to start one. So thank you for that idea. That's really, really cool. Now,
Absolutely. It won't let you down. And I got to tell you, you mentioned Jeb Blunt and Mark Hunter. They're both in my mastermind group.
I figured they were. Anthony Iannarino is another one that I follow religiously.
He founded our mastermind.
Okay. Yep. See,
Yeah.
that's never eat your lunch or eat your competitor's lunch.
Yep,
The only
yep.
sales guide you'll ever need. Those are some great books. He's an incredible writer and is a great thought leader. I've actually had him on a call at a different company. So very cool. What's the best advice that you've ever received as a business owner?
I one of the best pieces of advice I've ever received was from someone who was an old crusty real estate broker, and he used to tell junior brokers who would come to work for him in his rough, gruff voice. He would say, "You got to sacrifice your liver if you'll make it in this business." And of course, I didn't quite take him literally, although some weeks it feels like maybe I did.
Yeah.
But he was basically saying to a young person, you have to be out there seeing and being seen and being a part of the world. And truly, that's one of the things that I've always been dedicated to, realizing that the most important people are the people, in many ways, you have not yet met.
Sure.
Because they need your services and I need their business. And so I have always had, since day one, an absolute obsession about figuratively sacrificing my liver and going out there and being externally focused. It's paid off huge for me, and hopefully it's been a good thing for the people that I've gone out and met and been able to serve.
Absolutely. Half the battle is just showing up, right? It's so
Mm-hmm.
important. To be seen is very, very important. And, I think for me now, thinking about where we're at in the commercial real estate world, this is one thing I want to ask you, and we'll do that on a different segment, but the commercial real estate landscape is changing. There's young guys or younger guys like myself between 30 and 35 who are really adopting social media and digital marketing. Sure, you still need to be out there at the events locally, but it's not enough. You need to be seen on LinkedIn. You need to be seen on blogs, on video blogs, on podcasts. That's the new age way of sacrificing your liver. And I think a lot of people during coronavirus have started to see that. And folks that, didn't really adopt technology beforehand, I think are seeing that they absolutely have to, or their businesses aren't going to survive. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I like to tell people, and this is appropriate since 2020 is an election year, I like to tell people that you're in a lifelong series of campaigns
Mm-hmm.
trying to get elected to whatever it is that matters to you. And your voters are all those people out there who in any way can help you reach your personal, professional, or business goals.
Absolutely.
And so if Logan, if you were running for mayor of Kansas City, Missouri, you would have to make sure that the 450, 500,000 people that live in the city limits know you and have a more positive feeling about you than the other people running for mayor.
That's right.
And so therefore you'd spend every waking hour making sure that the Logan Freeman brand and what it stands for politically is front and center. And
Yep.
it's the same thing if you're a real estate broker. You get voted for when your name and face pop into a potential real estate client's head.
That's
And
right.
you do that by, exactly as you said, being highly active and visible of all forms of online communication, doing the traditional in-person networking when the pandemic allows,
Yep.
and then following traditional sales methods.
Yes.
And you combine all those pieces together, you can be a business generating machine, and then you can kind of also enjoy some of the benefits that come with being a celebrity in your own sphere of interest.
Yeah, I can hear you speaking about more of your modules. So I'm just going to tell everybody, if you're interested in getting high level, no fluff content, check out Jeff Beals's podcast or his program, and we'll link to it. But I mean, I love the analogy of the politician because you go farther into that in one of your modules, and I absolutely love it. So we'll continue to make sure that we point people in the right direction for that. This is your opportunity to promote somebody on the show. I use this platform to introduce my network to really high producing, high value folks. So I'm curious, what other successful business owners, investors, anybody that you can think of like yourself should be on the Live Free Investors podcast, Jeff?
Yeah, I would recommend a lot of the people from my aforementioned mastermind group,
Yeah.
and a couple that come to mind. You mentioned that you already have had Anthony Iannarino on the show. A few that also come to mind who would be great. Jeb Blunt, who is the owner of about 10 or 11 books now.
Yep.
My favorite among his books is Fanatical Prospecting, which
Great
came
one.
out
I've got
several
it.
years ago.
Got it
Yep.
on one of these shelves right here.
Yeah, and I was looking to see if my orange self-marketing power book's on there. I might have to send one down to you.
Yeah, I don't have that one specifically, but my sales books are all on a platform right here. I have about 50 of them. Yeah, we need to get yours there for sure.
I'll be sending you a copy.
Awesome.
But then also, if people want to learn a lot more about sales leadership, whether they're in commercial real estate like you are in the other business, Mike Weinberg,
Yes.
who's in my mastermind book, has a book called Sales Management Simplified. I'm using it as a textbook in one of the mastermind groups I lead for my paying clients.
Right.
And Weinberg's book is outstanding. And then I guess the last one I'd mention is Jeff Shore.
Okay.
Who last name spelled Shore, and Jeff's based in Sacramento. Has got a brand new sales book coming out in July.
Great.
I just interviewed him on my radio show. So there you go. There are just three of them that they won't let you down, and they'll provide great information to your listeners who want to improve their abilities and skills.
I appreciate that. I might leverage you to make some intros for me if I can't get to those guys, because I know they're extremely, extremely busy, but I think it'd be valuable. So this is the most important question of the podcast that I did not brief you for. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. My whole brand is about creating a life that allows you to live free. So what's the best, skill or tip or even method that you use to live free on a regular basis?
That's a good question. I guess my answer to that will be somewhat colored by all of the difficulties we've had
Sure.
in 2020, and that is I always choose to live a life of gratitude over a life of guilt.
Okay.
And what I say that is there, a lot of people who have been tremendously blessed, and feel like I've been kind of tremendously blessed myself as well.
Yep.
And sometimes we get caught up in all of the wonderful things that have happened, and sometimes when we're serving other people, doing our philanthropic or our community work, you might find people that are less fortunate or have had a harder go of it. And sometimes you can kind of have these little feelings of guilt. And I've always decided, nope, I'm not going to allow myself to feel guilty for anything. Instead, I'm just going to feel grateful for everything. And on the flip side, I've always felt that in no way can I ever allow myself to have any jealousies or angers about something that someone else has done that I have not.
Sure.
And I made that commitment to living that life that way. I take full responsibility for everything I may have screwed up, and I take full credit in a grateful manner for everything I've accomplished. And it has been one of the most liberating things. I adopted that when I was in my early 20s, coming
Yeah.
out of graduate school, and it's been a life and a career philosophy for me that has been very useful.
Oh, that's fantastic advice. Spoken like a true business owner and entrepreneur. I really appreciate it. Jeff, so this is the opportunity that I wanted to provide you on how everybody can find you. We'll link all of these to the show notes and the post, but what's the best way for folks to reach out to you?
Sure. My website is jeffbeals.com. Nice and easy to remember.
Yep.
And on that site, we have all sorts of information about our sales training and consulting services, as well as blog articles. And then if you are in commercial real estate, like you are, Logan, I have a special program since I've got a deep background in that. And you can get to that through dealmakerscre.com. CRE, of course, standing for commercial real estate. Dealmakerscre.com. And that's the program you made reference to earlier.
Yep.
That is a virtual sales training program for that particular industry.
Fantastic. Guys, this is Logan Freeman with the Live Free Investor Podcast, where investors and business owners share advice so you too can live free. For more insights and ideas on how you can live free, connect and message with myself and Jeff on LinkedIn today. Jeff, thanks for joining us today.
It's an honor. Thanks for including me, Logan.
Until next time, live free.